Good morning, my dear friend. The first light of morning spills gently across the horizon. The air carries that rare stillness found only at dawn. The world feels as if it is holding its breath, caught in the sacred pause between night and day. Shadows withdraw quietly, and the sky softens into hues of pale gold and warm rose. Even the trees seem to lean toward the coming sun, their leaves trembling lightly as if in silent worship. This is one of the holiest times of the day, when hope feels near enough to touch and the soul is most ready to listen. Perhaps today you wake with a heaviness you cannot fully name. It might be the echo of yesterday's disappointments, the sting of words that wounded, or the quiet ache of missing someone who is no longer here. Some mornings, the bed feels heavier than our bodies, and the thought of facing another day stirs not joy, but dread. You may know the pulse of fear that rises when the future seems uncertain. I think of a woman I once knew who sat at her kitchen table each morning, staring into a cup of coffee gone cold. She wrapped her hands around it, not for warmth, but to hold on to something, anything, because so much else had been lost. Her spouse, her health, her sense of safety. The sunlight streamed through her window, yet she felt it was light meant for someone else. Maybe you know that feeling. Maybe you are living it right now. Yet here you are in this moment, breathing in the air of a new day. That, in itself, is a miracle. It is living proof that no matter how deep the night, the dawn still comes. The fact that you are listening means a part of you is still reaching for something greater than the pain. This morning, I want to walk with you spirit to spirit through the corridors of your own heart. Some of these hallways you know well, lined with memories of joy and peace. Others are locked, their keys tucked away, because you know what lies behind those doors. Grief, regret, anger, shame. We all have them. And these are not places God avoids. They are the very places He longs to enter. The journey we begin today is not about pretending the hurt is not there. It is not about covering pain with hollow words or rushing toward a shallow version of healing. It is about allowing God's light to pour into the rooms you have kept hidden for too long. It is about daring to believe that no wound is beyond His reach, no scar too deep for His touch. Prayer is more than speaking words into the air. It is opening the door and stepping aside, letting the one who created you move freely within. Faith does not erase the past, but it transforms how the past shapes your present and future. It takes what was meant to break you and turns it into a testimony of grace and endurance. I know it feels risky to forgive, to let go, to hope again. It can seem like placing fragile trust into unseen hands. But these are hands that have never let go of a soul that clung to them. The same hands that shape the stars are gentle enough to wipe away your tears. When you pray, you are not speaking into emptiness. You are speaking into the attentive ear of the God who knows every detail of your story, every scar you carry, and every dream that still trembles inside you. Over the next moments, we will enter a sacred conversation, a slow, steady walk through 24 chapters of prayer, each one a step deeper into the places where God's presence can bring life again. Some steps will be tender, others will stretch you, but all will be grounded in the unshakable truth that you are not alone. God is not far off. He is here, now, waiting for your invitation. So as the sun climbs higher and the day awakens around you, breathe deeply. Let the cool air of morning fill your lungs. Let the light rest gently on your face. Allow your heart to soften. For now, set aside the lists, the deadlines, and the weight of what has been. This is your time to open the door. This is your moment to step into a conversation that can reshape not just this day, but the way you walk through every day ahead. You do not need perfect words. You do not need to feel strong. You only need to be willing to sit in the stillness, to listen for his whisper, and to let your voice rise in response. The God who called light out of darkness is more than able to bring light into every hidden corner of your life. And here, in this quiet and holy hour, that work can begin again. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning I come to you without pretense, without the layers I often wear to make the world think I'm fine. You see through them anyway. You know the heaviness that greets me before my feet even touch the floor, the shadow that lingers even when the sun begins to rise. I do not want to hide it anymore. I bring it to you as it is, raw and unpolished. I have carried it for so long that it has begun to feel like part of me. And yet I know in my heart that this is not who I am. I am not the wound. I am not the weight. I am yours. There are places inside me that I have learned to avoid, rooms in my heart where the air is stale, where the light has not reached for years. I have kept those doors locked because I feared what might rush out if I dared to open them. Old memories still hold the power to sting. Voices from the past still echo, and the ache can feel as fresh as the day it was born. But you have been standing at those doors all along, patient and gentle, waiting for me to trust you enough to hand over the key. Today, I do not want to keep pretending those places do not exist. I do not want to decorate the outer rooms of my life while a part of me remains untouched, unhealed. I am tired of the invisible weight I drag into each new day, tired of how it shapes my words, my choices, my willingness to believe. I confess that sometimes I avoid joy because I am afraid it will not last, that I hold back in relationships because I do not want to be hurt again. I confess that I have allowed pain to whisper lies about who I am and about who you are. But this morning, in the quiet of this dawn, I choose something different. I choose to believe that you are near to the brokenhearted and that you save those who are crushed in spirit. I choose to take the key out of hiding and place it in your hand. I can feel the fear of what opening that door will mean, but I also sense the faintest breath of freedom waiting beyond it. I know that you do not come to shame me or expose me, but to bring light and life into every hidden corner. So I picture it now. I see my hand on the handle, trembling but willing. I turn it slowly, the hinges creak, and there it is, the room I have avoided for so long. Dust rises in the beam of sunlight spilling in from the hallway. The air stirs, and it smells like change. I step aside to let you enter first. You walk in without hesitation, as if this space has always belonged to you. You are not startled by what you find here. You do not turn away from the mess. You look at me with eyes that say, I am safe in your presence. The fear begins to loosen its grip. I feel the weight shift ever so slightly. I do not have to explain every detail to you because you already know, but I find myself wanting to tell you anyway. I tell you about the moment I first felt this wound, about the night I could not sleep for the H, about the countless mornings I pretended not to feel it. I tell you that I am tired of carrying it alone. I tell you that I want this room to have windows again, that I want fresh air and sunlight to fill it. I sense your hand on my shoulder, steady and warm, and in that touch there is more comfort than I have felt in years. I realize I am not just opening this room to you. I am opening myself to the possibility that healing is real, that it is for me, and that it can begin now. I let the thoughts settle. I am not beyond repair. I am not too much work for you. Every scar, every hidden fracture is within your reach. As I stand here, the morning light grows brighter, and it falls across my face like a quiet promise. I feel the air shift again, fresher now, as though the room itself is exhaling after years of holding its breath. I whisper in my heart that I am ready to see what you will do, ready to let you arrange this space in a way that reflects who I am in you, not who I was when the wound was made. Ready to walk into the rest of this day knowing that the first step has already been taken. I will not close the door again, even if the memories rise, even if the H returns. I will remember this moment and the way you met me here. I will remember the way light came rushing in when I stopped keeping it out. I will remember that you do not abandon the rooms you enter, and that once you have begun the work, you will not leave it unfinished. So here I am, at the start of this day, with one door open and my heart leaning toward the others that still wait. This is where we begin. This is where I choose trust over hiding. This is where I take my first breath of freedom in a long time, knowing you are beside me and the morning has only just begun. Father, as I stand here with that first door open, I feel the stirrings of something I have not allowed myself in a long time. Honesty without filter. Words that do not hide behind polite phrases or carefully managed expressions. The air feels different now, lighter yet charged with the weight of truth I have been carrying. I know this is the moment to speak openly, to let my heart spill its unguarded story before you. The thought makes me both nervous and relieved, because part of me wonders if saying these things aloud will make them more real, while another part longs to finally release them from the place they have been pressing against my chest. I have spent years crafting a version of myself that seemed strong, capable, and unshaken on the outside. It looked convincing, even to me at times, but you have seen through it all, and you have loved me through it all. You were there on the nights I lay in bed staring into the dark, afraid to admit how much it hurt. You heard the silent prayers that never formed into words, the ones I abandoned halfway because I thought they sounded weak. You felt the tension in me when I smiled at others, while holding back the urge to crumble. So now, I will not pretend. I tell you plainly, this has been hard, harder than I ever expected it would be. There were days when I felt like I was moving through water. Everything slowed, every step and effort. There were mornings when I stared at my own reflection and barely recognized the person looking back. There were moments when I questioned if hope was even worth holding on to. I confess the bitterness that has sometimes taken root. The frustration that I cannot fix what was broken, and the quiet envy I have felt watching others seem untouched by this kind of struggle. And yet, I know you are not put off by these confessions. You do not turn away because my words are messy or my emotions spill out in waves. You are the Father who leans closer when I am finally honest. You are the one who does not measure my faith by how composed I look, but by the willingness to place my raw, unedited self in your hands. I imagine myself sitting across from you. No distance. No barriers. Telling you the story from the very beginning, not because you need to hear it, but because I need to remember that you were there for all of it. I recall the first cracks that formed in my confidence, the small disappointments that piled quietly into something heavier, the single sharp moment that made me realize things would never be the same. I tell you about the words that landed like stones, about the silence that followed and how it echoed in ways that hurt more than sound ever could. I tell you about the loneliness of feeling misunderstood and the exhaustion of carrying it alone. And as I speak, I sense the uncoiling of something tight within me. It is as if my honesty is a key that fits more than one lock. And with each truth spoken, another layer loosens. The tears come without my asking, unplanned but strangely welcome. They wash over me like a stream long dammed, finally allowed to run free. I do not rush to stop them, because here with you, my tears are not a sign of weakness, but a release. A clearing of space where something better can grow. Father, I have often believed that to come to you, I must bring a cleaned-up version of my story, one that makes sense and fits into a neat conclusion. But I see now that you invite me as I am, in the middle of the sentence, in the middle of the mess. You are not impatient with the pauses in my voice or the long silences where I search for words. You fill those spaces with your presence, reminding me that prayer is not a performance, but a conversation, and that you already know the ending even when I am still lost in the middle. So I keep speaking. I tell you what I miss, what I wish had been different, what I fear will never change. I tell you where I feel fragile and where I am tempted to give up. I admit the things I have hidden from others because I thought they would not understand. I even tell you about the moments I was angry with you because I know you are strong enough to hold those feelings too. There is no part of me you cannot meet with compassion, no corner too dark for your light. By the time my voice begins to quiet, I notice a shift not in the circumstances, but in me. It is subtle, but it is there. My shoulders feel lighter. My breath comes easier. I realize that in this honest cry, I have handed you pieces I was never meant to carry alone. I have invited you not just into the room I opened earlier, but into the very center of my being, where the truest parts of my heart reside. And now, as I pause in this stillness, I know we are closer, not because I have perfected my prayer, but because I have spoken from a place I rarely let anyone see. I sense that you are listening still, waiting for the next thing I am ready to share. And I know there is more to say, but for now, This is enough. This is where the ground has been broken, where the first seeds of healing can be planted in the soil of truth. Father, as the last of my honest words from before still linger in the quiet, I sense the moment shifting. Something inside me knows this is the point where listening turns into action, where confession becomes invitation. I am standing in that thin space between the H I have laid bare and the healing I long to receive. The weight is not gone, but it feels movable now, as though my heart is no longer welded shut. I know you are not here just to hear my story. You are here to step into it, and that means I must open the way. I pictured again not the room from before exactly as it was, but how it is now. After I have told you what has been hidden inside it, the air is still heavy, the corners still dim, but I can see how my speaking has loosened the lock. My hand hovers over the door handle once more. And though there is a tremor in my fingers, there is also a spark of courage. I remember the first light that spilled in when I dared to face this space. And I realize that light has been growing stronger with each truth I have spoken. So I push the door open wider. It resists at first, as though years of being shut have made it stiff. But then it yields. The hinges groan, and the gap widens enough for your presence to pass through unhindered. It is not just symbolic in my mind. It feels real in my spirit. There is a shift in the atmosphere, a subtle but undeniable sense that something greater than myself has just entered. I tell you, Father, that this is my surrender. I am not inviting you in as a guest who will only stay for a moment and then leave everything as it was. I am giving you full access. The room is yours to walk through, to clear out, to bring into the order you desire. I will not stand in the doorway with conditions or explanations. I will not try to guide your hand or shield you from the mess. As you step in, I imagine the light following you like a living thing, spilling across the floor and chasing shadows into the corners. Dust rises, caught in golden streams, and the stale air begins to move. It is as if the walls themselves are breathing for the first time in years. I feel the same in my chest, a deep, cleansing breath I did not know I had been holding back. I realize that opening this door is more than a single act. It is a choice I will have to make again and again, because there will be moments when fear will tell me to close it, when memories will tempt me to seal it shut. So I ask you to help me keep it open, to remind me that your light does its best work in spaces where nothing is hidden. There is something humbling about this openness. It means admitting I cannot manage my own restoration. It means acknowledging that my control has never been the thing keeping me safe. I tell you that this vulnerability feels strange, like stepping outside without armor. And yet, beneath the strangeness is a surprising relief. My shoulders are not meant to carry the weight of locked rooms and shuttered windows. Father, I invite you to bring fresh air here, not just to replace what is stale, but to change the very quality of the atmosphere. Let hope settle into these walls. Let peace seep into the floor. Let joy have a place here. I imagine the sound of a window being opened, curtains lifting with the breeze. I imagine how light transforms a space, not by forcing away the darkness violently, but by simply being present until the shadows have no choice but to fade. I know this is not the end of the work, but it is the beginning of something irreversible. Once the door is open and you have entered, the room cannot go back to being what it was. My heart cannot go back to being what it was. I sense that this openness is not only for my healing, but for something beyond me that one day, this space will hold the evidence of your goodness, a testimony for others who stand before their own locked doors, unsure if they can open them. So I stand here beside you, Father, feeling the warmth of the light and the movement of the air. I tell you that I am ready for what comes next, even if it arrives slowly, even if it comes in ways I do not expect. I am ready for you to use this space, to fill it with what is needed, to remove what no longer belongs. I trust you to see it not just for what it has been, but for what it can become. And as I let this moment settle, I realize something has already changed in me. The door is not simply open, my heart is open, and that is where the real work begins. Father, now that the door is open and your presence fills the room, I know there is something you are gently leading me toward. It is the step I have both longed for and resisted, the place where healing requires release. I can feel it rising in the quiet between us, this invitation to forgive. It comes not as a demand, but as a whisper, a steady urging that if I want this space to stay free, I cannot let bitterness take root again. Forgiveness is not something I can keep postponing, hoping the moment will feel easier someday. It is a choice I must make now, while the light is still streaming in. I admit to you, Father, that this is not simple for me. There are names and faces that still carry the weight of wounds. There are words I still remember too clearly, actions I still replay in my mind when the hurt comes back. Part of me has believed that holding on to my anger would protect me from being hurt again. It has felt like a shield, but deep down I know it has been a chain. The truth is that every time I keep someone bound in my resentment, I bind myself as well. I have been carrying the weight of these offenses, as if they were mine to manage, but they were never meant for my hands. You remind me that forgiveness is not excusing what happened. It is not saying that the pain did not matter, that trust should be given where it has not been rebuilt. It is not forgetting, but it is refusing to let the memory have the final word. Forgiveness is setting down the stone I have been holding, the one I thought I might need to throw someday, and leaving justice in your care. It is handing over the right to repay and trusting that you are both merciful and just. I speak it now, not because I feel ready in every part of me, but because I choose to obey. I say their names before you in this sacred space. I place each one into your hands, not to punish, not to erase, but to free both them and me from the grip of what happened. I release the hold their actions have had on my thoughts. I release the quiet resentments that have shaped my reactions. I release the way I have let these wounds define my sense of worth. There is a strange mixture of grief and relief in this moment. Grief for what was lost, for the trust that was broken, for the years shaped by pain. Relief because I do not have to keep carrying it all. I sense that my forgiveness is not a one-time act, but the opening of another door, one I will need to walk through again and again when memories return. But each time I choose this path, the hold of the hurt will weaken, and the strength of your peace will grow. Father, I ask you to fill the empty space that forgiveness creates. Let it not remain a hollow room where bitterness can creep back in. Fill it with compassion, with wisdom, with a deep awareness of your mercy toward me. Remind me that I, too, have been forgiven much, and that the same grace that covered my faults is enough to cover theirs. As I speak these words, I notice the tension in my chest easing. It is as though something inside me has unclenched, allowing me to breathe in a way I have not in a long time. The faces I once could not think of without anger now pass through my mind without the same sharpness. There is still tenderness where the wound has been, but the poison has begun to drain. I also forgive myself, Father, not in a shallow way, but in recognition that I have held my own mistakes against me longer than you ever have. I let go of the self-condemnation that has kept me from fully receiving your grace. I place my own name into your hands, trusting that you can redeem my past just as surely as you can heal what others have done. Standing here with you, I realize forgiveness is not only an act of release. It is an act of faith. It declares that I believe you are big enough to handle every injustice, strong enough to bring restoration, and wise enough to know how to make all things right in their time. It is me saying I will no longer let my future be written by old offenses. So I keep my hands open before you. Father, open to let go, open to receive, open to whatever you want to place here in the place of the anger I once clung to. Let this be the ground where something new can grow, something that will bear fruit not just in my life, but in the lives of those I have released. Father, now that I have spoken forgiveness and placed those I have released into your hands, I feel you inviting me to take yet another step. It is a step that runs even deeper than words. It is the surrender of my right to make things even. I sense you gently asking me to place down not only the offense, but also the desire to see justice carried out on my terms. Forgiving is one thing, but letting go of the need for retribution requires a trust that runs to the very core of who I am. I admit to you that part of me still imagines how it would feel to be proven right, to have wrongs exposed in the light for all to see. There is a certain satisfaction my heart has quietly longed for, believing it would bring closure. Yet when I hold that desire up against the peace you offer, I see how empty it really is. The justice I can arrange is small, temporary, and often tangled in my own wounded perspective. The justice you promise is pure, perfect, and never delayed beyond its right time. You remind me of the words that say vengeance belongs to you alone. I let those words sink in, not as a command meant to strip me of dignity, but as a gift meant to free me from a burden too heavy for my shoulders. Carrying the responsibility to set everything right has worn me down in ways I did not even realize. Has kept me awake at night, rehearsing what I would say or imagining what might happen if truth came out in my favor. But the truth is, Father, I cannot see the whole picture. Only you know every detail, every motive, every hidden layer of a person's heart. Only you can balance mercy and justice without error. So I place this right in your hands. I surrender the seat of judge that I was never meant to occupy. I will not stand in the way of what you may choose to do, whether that means a swift resolution or a long and unseen work. I trust that in your timing and in your way, you will make all things right. I release my grip not because the pain was small, because my trust in you must be greater than my desire for control. There is a release in this, though it feels unfamiliar. It is like unclenching a fist that has been tight for years. The H of letting go followed by the relief of freedom. My heart, which has long braced for a fight, begins to rest in the knowledge that I am not responsible for delivering the final word on this matter. My only responsibility is to walk faithfully in the path you set before me. Father, I ask you to guard my heart from picking up this weight again. On the days when anger flares, when I am tempted to reopen the case in my mind, remind me of this moment. Remind me that my peace is worth more than the hollow victory of proving a point. Remind me that stepping aside allows you to move in ways that my interference could only delay. I choose to bless rather than curse. I choose to pray for those who may never acknowledge the hurt they caused. Not because they have earned it, but because I refuse to let bitterness shape me any longer. I want my life to bear the mark of mercy, not revenge. I want my steps to carry the weight of grace, not the heaviness of settling scores. In the stillness, I sense you receiving what I have laid down. I feel the quiet exchange my longing for payback replaced with the steady assurance that nothing escapes your sight. You see, you know, and you care more deeply than I ever could. That is enough for me. So I stand here with open hands, no longer holding the gavel I was never meant to wield. I walk away from the battlefield I once thought I had to win, trusting that the victory I truly need has already been secured in you. My heart is lighter, my mind clearer, and my spirit freer to move forward without the weight of unfinished fights. And in this freedom, I am ready for what you have next. Father, now that I have set down the weight of revenge and stepped away from the need to settle things in my own way, I feel a stillness beginning to settle over me. It is not the absence of all thought or feeling, but a deeper kind of quiet, the kind that leaves room for something new to be poured in. That something, I know, is the comfort only you can give. I have felt the kind of comfort people offer, the words and gestures that help for a moment but fade when the day grows long. What I need now is the kind of comfort that takes root inside me, that reaches the places even I cannot reach, and stays there no matter what rises tomorrow. I think about the truth that you're the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort. These are not just titles. They are who you are at the deepest level. Your comfort is not a blanket thrown over pain to hide it from sight. It is a healing that starts from within, moving slowly, patiently, until it touches every place that has been bruised. It does not rush me or demand that I feel better before the work is done. It holds me where I am, steady and sure, until I can stand without fear of falling again. Father, I invite you to sit with me here in this moment, not to fix everything at once, but to be present with me in a way that changes how I carry the day ahead. I want to feel your nearness, not just as an idea I agree with, but as a reality in my body, mind, and spirit. Wrap my thoughts in peace so they stop racing toward every possible worry. Settle my heart so that the old wounds do not keep reopening when I remember them. Ease the tension I carry in my shoulders, in my voice, in the way I brace myself for what might go wrong. I think of the times I have tried to comfort myself with distractions, with keeping busy, with convincing words I never truly believed. None of it has lasted. Only you can sit in the quiet with me and make it feel safe. Only you can fill the empty spaces left behind when anger and hurt have been let go. Only you can breathe life into the hollow places that grief has carved out. Father, I ask you to reach the parts of me I have avoided, memories I did not want to revisit, feelings I thought were too messy to handle. I open those places to you now, not because it is easy, but because I trust your touch. You do not press too hard, and you do not pull away when you see how deep the damage goes. You know exactly where to apply the balm of your spirit, and you are patient enough to stay as long as it takes. Your comfort is not only about removing pain, it is about restoring what pain has stolen. I pray that you would return the joy that once came naturally, the strength that used to carry me without strain, and the hope that once felt unshakable. Let this comfort become the foundation under my feet, so I do not feel like I am standing on shifting ground. Let it be the quiet reminder throughout the day that I am held, even when no one else notices or understands what I am walking through. I imagine your comfort as a gentle light moving through me, not harsh or blinding, but steady and warm. It lingers in the places that have been cold, softening the edges of my pain, making space for healing to take root. It reminds me that I am not broken beyond repair, that even here and now, new life is possible. Father, teach me to receive this comfort without feeling I must earn it. Remove the thought that I needed to be strong before I deserve your help. Show me how to rest in your presence without rushing ahead to the next thing. Let your peace sink into me so deeply that it becomes part of how I think, how I speak, how I see the world. As I breathe in this moment, I realize that comfort does not erase every H at once, but it changes the way I carry it. It lightens my steps. It steadies my voice. It reminds me that I am not walking through this life alone, and as your comfort settles into the deepest places, I feel ready to take the next step of this journey with you, knowing that whatever I face, I will face it in the shelter of your presence. Father, as I rest in the comfort you have given, I am beginning to understand something I once resisted. This journey will not be finished in a single moment. The warmth and peace I feel now are real, but they are part of a greater work that is still unfolding. I used to think that true healing would happen like a flash of light, sudden, complete, leaving no trace of the wound behind. But now I see that your way is often slower, more deliberate, shaping me over time. I confess that I have not always been patient with the pace of your work. There have been days when I thought the progress I made was erased by one sudden memory, one unexpected wave of pain. I have judged myself harshly for still feeling the sting, wondering if I lacked faith or if I had done something wrong. But here with you, I can admit that the H returning does not mean I have failed. It means the healing is still in motion, and that you are still with me in it. Father, Teach me to see each step forward for what it is, a step, not the entire journey. Remind me that even on days when the hurt feels sharp again, I am still further along than I once was. Show me how to hold both the reality of my wounds and the hope of my restoration in the same hands, without letting one cancel out the other. Give me the grace to see progress in the smallest ways, in the way my heart opens a little more, in the way my voice grows steadier when I speak of what once silenced me, in the way I can breathe more easily in moments that once felt suffocating. I think about how you work in layers, peeling back what I am ready to face, tending to what is exposed, and then gently moving deeper when the time is right. You do not rip open what is not ready. You do not rush me toward a finish line just to prove it can be done. You walk beside me at a pace that allows me to truly be changed, not just patched together. This way is harder for me because it requires trust each day, not just once. But it is also the way that ensures the change will last. Father, help me to remember that your timing is not a punishment, but a kindness. There are lessons in the waiting, strength in the slow rebuilding, and wisdom in learning to lean on you repeatedly instead of only once. When impatience tries to take over, when I am tempted to push past what my heart can bear, slow me down again. Bring me back to this place of remembering that healing is not a single sunrise, but many mornings strung together, each one bringing more light than the last. I also ask for courage in the moments when the process feels like starting over, when a familiar pain resurfaces. Let me turn toward you instead of away. Remind me that the presence of the pain does not erase the progress, and that I can meet the H differently now than I did before. Let these moments become opportunities to lean deeper into your presence, trusting that every return to you strengthens the foundation we are building together. Father, I want to honor the work you are doing, even when it is unseen. I want to trust that the seeds you plant in this season will one day bloom in ways I cannot imagine. I want to carry hope into each step, knowing that the process is not a delay, but a preparation. You are not just mending what was broken. You are making me new from the inside out. So I choose to stay in this with you, to walk the long road without rushing, to believe that each day spent in your care is shaping me into someone who will not just be healed, but whole. I choose to meet the slow and steady work of your hands with gratitude instead of frustration. And as I take another step forward, I do it knowing that every moment in this process matters to you. And therefore, it matters to me too. Father, as I walk with you through this ongoing process of healing, I feel you drawing my attention to something deeper, a truth about who I am. For so long, I have allowed my pain to speak louder than your voice. I have looked at myself through the lens of what happened to me, as though the injury itself was the truest thing about me. Every decision, every relationship, even the way I thought about my own worth, was colored by the shadow of that hurt. But here in your presence, I sense you inviting me to see myself the way you do, to step beyond the definition that the wound has tried to give me. I realize that I have carried names that were never mine, to carry labels given in moments of weakness or cruelty, titles I took on because I thought they explained me. I have been the one who was betrayed, the one who failed, the one who should have done better. These have clung to me like heavy garments, and I have worn them so long that I almost forgot they were never from you. But now I hear you saying that you call me by name, not by my injury. You see me as more than the story of what I endured. Father, I want to step out of those false names and into the identity you have spoken over me. I want to believe that I am more than my survival, more than my scars, more than the echoes of the past. I want to believe that my life is not permanently marked by what others did or by the mistakes I have made, but by your love that never changes. Show me how to live as someone defined by grace, not by damage. I confess that sometimes I have used my pain as a shield. I have hidden behind it when I was afraid to try again. I have let it be my excuse when the risk of hope felt too dangerous. And yet, I know that staying there has kept me from the fullness of the life you have for me. I do not want to be known only by my resilience. I want to be known by the joy and freedom that come from belonging to you. Father, remind me daily that my worth was never determined by the moments I was broken. My value was set before my first breath and secured in the love you showed at the cross. No injury can erase that. No word spoken against me can diminish it. No failure can undo it. Let this truth sink so deeply into me that it becomes unshakable, a foundation I can stand on when old memories try to pull me back into shame. Teach me to speak to myself the way you speak to me, with kindness, with patience, with the belief that I am still becoming who you created me to be. Remove the lies that have been lodged in my heart for years. Replace them with the truth that I am chosen, cherished, and called. Let my identity be so rooted in you that no season of pain can uproot it. I ask you to show me what it means to live from this place of restored identity, to make choices not from fear of being hurt again, but from the confidence that I am loved no matter what, to see opportunities not as traps, but as gifts, to enter relationships not as someone guarded by the past, but as someone free to give and receive without the chains of old wounds. Father, help me to remember that the injury is a part of my story, but it is not the headline. It is not the sum of who I am. You have written my name in your book, and that name carries more weight than anything life has thrown at me. I want to walk into each day with that truth steady in my mind, that I am yours first, before I am anything else, and nothing can take that away. So I stand here now, no longer clothed in the identity pain gave me, but wrapped in the truth of who I am in you. And as I take the next step on this journey, I do it knowing that my story is not about what broke me, but about the one who is making me whole. Father, as I step into this new understanding of who I am in you, I feel a stirring inside me, a quiet strength rising where fear used to live. It is as though the walls that once pressed in around me have shifted, leaving space for courage to take root. For so long, I walked carefully, guarding every move, avoiding risks because I thought safety meant staying small. But now, in the light of your truth about my identity, I sense you inviting me to move differently, to step out with a boldness that comes not from proving myself, but from trusting you completely. This courage does not feel loud or reckless. It feels steady, anchored in the knowledge that you go before me, and that nothing I face will ever surprise you. It is the kind of courage that allows me to breathe deeper, to stand taller, to speak when silence once seemed safer. It is not the absence of fear, but the decision that fear will not decide the course of my life. Father, I ask you to show me where I have been holding back. Reveal the places I have avoided simply because I convinced myself I was not ready. Pull back the veil on the opportunities I turned away from because the thought of failure loomed larger than the possibility of your victory. Let this courage that is rising within me spill over into every part of my day, the way I approach my work, the way I speak to others, the way I dream again without limiting what you can do. I know there will still be moments when doubt whispers, when the old voice of caution tells me to stay in the familiar. In those moments, remind me of how far you have brought me. Remind me of the doors you have opened in my heart and the truth you have planted about who I am. Remind me that I am more than what I have survived. I am a living testimony of your faithfulness, and I am called to walk in the confidence of that truth. Father, I want my courage to be rooted in you, not in the shifting circumstances around me. Let it be built on the foundation of your promises, which do not change. Help me to act not out of impulse or pride, but out of a clear sense that you are leading me forward. Give me the discernment to know when to move and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen, and the strength to follow through even when it feels costly. I picture myself standing at the edge of new territory, the ground unfamiliar but rich with promise. I can feel the temptation to turn back, to return to what I know, but your presence is here, steadying me. You remind me that courage is not about having all the answers, but about taking the next step with you. And so I lift my foot and move forward, trusting that each step taken in obedience will lead me to where you have prepared for me to be. Father, let this courage be visible in the way I carry myself. Let it be evident in my kindness, my willingness to forgive, my openness to love without the old walls in place. Let it show in my resilience when challenges come, and in my joy when blessings arrive. May this courage draw others toward you, not because I am fearless, but because they see the one who gives me strength. I thank you for this return of courage, for reminding me that it was never lost. It was waiting beneath the layers of fear and hurt, ready to rise when the truth set me free. Now, as I stand in this moment, I know that courage will not always feel the same each day, but it will always be available when I keep my eyes on you. And with this courage, I am ready to step into whatever comes next, knowing you are with me in every breath, every choice, every step forward. Father, as this courage begins to grow within me, I realize it needs a steady place to rest. Boldness without peace can burn too quickly, and I do not want to move through life in bursts of strength followed by exhaustion. I need the calm of your presence to anchor me so that my steps remain firm. Courage pushes me forward, but your peace keeps me from being swept away by the waves of worry that still try to rise. I confess that there are moments, even now, when my mind begins to race ahead of my spirit. Thoughts stack on top of each other, building restless towers of what-ifs. I imagine conversations that have not happened, problems that do not yet exist, and outcomes I cannot control. This anxious current tries to pull me away from the steadiness I have found in you. But Father, I know you are not calling me to live with a heart in constant tension. You invite me into a place where trust outweighs fear, where my inner life is as still as the water that reflects the morning sky. So I ask you to speak into this restlessness. Let your voice be louder than the noise in my head. Replace the endless rehearsing of problems with a quiet assurance that you already hold the answers. Remind me that my role is not to figure out every detail, but to walk faithfully in the step that is in front of me. Let me release the false responsibility of carrying tomorrow before it arrives. Father, I also bring to you the burdens that sit heavier than they should. Sometimes I hold on to them out of habit, as though worry were proof that I care. But you have shown me that true care is found in placing those burdens in your hands, not in wearing them like chains. Help me to recognize when my thoughts are turning into anxious loops, and teach me to hand them over the moment they start. I imagine my heart as a room that has been stirred by wind. Papers flying, objects shifting out of place. And then I imagine you walking in, not to scold the mess, but to close the open windows, to steady what has been rattled, to return order where chaos has crept in. You do not force the stillness. You bring it simply by being here. The atmosphere changes because you are present. Father, I ask for that kind of stillness to remain with me through the day, not just in quiet moments like this one, but when life becomes loud and demands pull from every side. Let your peace guard my heart like walls that cannot be breached. Let it slow my reactions, guide my words, and shape my decisions. I want this settled heart to be more than a feeling I notice in prayer. I want it to be the way I live, calm in the middle of the storm, steady even when the ground shifts beneath me. Teach me to breathe deeply when I feel the first signs of anxiety tightening around me. Remind me to pause, to listen, to let your presence speak before I act. And when fear tries to disguise itself as urgency, help me to discern the difference between what is truly pressing and what is simply loud. Keep me from rushing into choices just to quiet my discomfort. Show me that peace is not found in getting everything done, but in doing what you have asked with a heart at rest. Father, I know that the world will not stop being unpredictable, but I also know that my spirit does not have to match its pace. In you, I can be unshaken. In you, I can move through the unknown without letting it undo me. Let my heart be so deeply settled in your goodness that even when the day brings surprises, my first response is trust. So here I stand, courage in one hand, peace in the other, ready to move forward without being driven by fear. I choose to let my heart rest in you, knowing that this quiet strength will carry me further than any anxious striving ever could. Father, as my heart grows more anchored in your peace, I realize how essential it is to guard that peace. The calm you have placed within me can be shaken if I step back into old patterns, especially the ones that tempt me to respond from a place of hurt rather than from a place of trust. I know there will still be moments when the actions or words of others stir something deep inside me. Moments when the pull toward retaliation feels almost instinctive. That is why I need your wisdom to know when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to simply let go. I think about how often I have mistaken letting go for weakness. In my past, I believed that holding on tightly to an offense gave me strength, that refusing to release it somehow proved my worth or my dignity. But Father, you have been showing me that there is a greater strength in release, the kind that trusts you to handle what my hands are too small to hold. Retaliation might feel satisfying in the moment, but it leaves a residue of unrest that robs me of the peace you have given. So I ask you to sharpen my discernment. Let me feel the difference between a reaction that is fueled by anger and a response that is shaped by love. Give me eyes to see beyond the surface of people's actions, to recognize the pain or confusion that might be hiding behind their words. Remind me that retaliation keeps me bound to the very thing I want to be free from, while release opens the way for healing, not just for me, but for them too. Father, I want to live in such a way that my first instinct is to place offenses into your hands instead of into my plans for payback. Help me to pause before I act, to breathe in your wisdom before I speak, and to let my steps be guided by the quiet strength of your Spirit. When emotions rise quickly, slow me down so that I do not speak words I cannot take back or make choices I will later regret. Teach me the art of blessing in the face of insult, of responding with patience where I might otherwise choose harshness. Let my life reflect the mercy you have shown me, the grace you continue to extend even when I falter. I know that choosing this path will not always be easy. There will be times when it feels like I am giving something up, but I trust that what I gain, your peace, your favor, and the freedom of a clean heart is worth far more than the fleeting satisfaction of retaliation. Father, I ask you to fill me so completely with your presence that retaliation loses its appeal. Let your love shape my instincts until kindness becomes my default, even when it is undeserved. Let forgiveness be more than a decision I make once, it must be a posture I carry daily, a readiness to release whatever could weigh me down. I imagine my hands holding a heavy stone, its edges pressing into my palms, my arms aching from carrying it too long. And then I picture myself placing it into your hands that never drop what is entrusted to them. Your hands that can turn even the hardest things into something that bears fruit. The relief that comes in that moment reminds me why I must keep releasing over and over until it becomes as natural as breathing. Father, let this wisdom to release become part of my character. May it be evident in my conversations, in the way I treat those who misunderstand me, in the way I handle disappointment, and when the enemy tries to convince me that letting go means losing. Remind me that the only real loss is forfeiting the peace you have given. I stand here before you, committed to choosing release over retaliation, trusting that every offense placed in your hands is an opportunity for you to work in ways I cannot see. And with that trust, I am free to keep walking forward without the weight of what has been, ready for whatever you have prepared ahead. Father, as I continue to choose release over retaliation, I can feel the space you have been making in my heart, The old burdens are no longer stacked so high inside me. And there is room now for something new to take root. It is almost as if the soil of my soul has been cleared of stones and debris, ready for fresh seed to be planted. I hear your gentle reminder from your word that I should not dwell on the former things or be consumed by what is behind me, because you are doing something new, and this time, I do not want to miss it. I confess that in the past I have been so focused on what I lost, what went wrong, or what hurt me that I could not see the opportunities standing right in front of me. My mind was often trapped in rehearsing the past, convinced that the best had already happened, and that nothing ahead could compare. But Father, you are showing me that your creativity is endless, that you are not limited by what I have been through. What you can bring forth is not simply a replacement for what I lost. It is something entirely fresh, designed for the season I am in now. So I open my heart to receive it. I ask you to awaken my eyes to notice the signs of this new work, even while it is still small and tender. Give me the faith to nurture it patiently, trusting that what you have started will grow in its time. When doubt whispers that it is too late for change or too late for joy, let your voice rise louder, declaring that your mercies are new every morning and that you delight in bringing life to places that have felt barren. Father, I want to move with you into what is ahead. I do not want to linger at the doorway of the past, glancing over my shoulder as though I might still find something there worth holding on to. Instead, I want to step forward with both hands open, ready to embrace whatever you place in them. Help me to walk with expectation rather than suspicion, to see each day as a gift you are unfolding, even if I cannot yet see the full picture. I know that this new thing may not come in the ways I imagine. It may arrive quietly, without fanfare, or it may challenge me to grow in ways I did not expect. Give me the humility to accept it on your terms, not mine. Give me the courage to say yes to unfamiliar paths, and knowing that every step with you leads closer to your purpose for my life. Father, I ask you to protect the new work you are beginning in me. Guard it from the voices, whether my own or from others, that would try to diminish its value or dismiss its significance. Let it be watered by hope and strengthened by faith until it stands firm. And as it grows, let it not only bless me, but also bring light and encouragement to those around me. I imagine a dry field after a long season of drought. The ground cracked and hard, and then I see the first green shoots breaking through the soil, fragile but determined. That is how this feels inside me, a beginning, not yet fully formed, but undeniably alive. I know this is your doing, and I want to cooperate with you in seeing it flourish. So, Father, let this be a season where I keep my eyes fixed on what you are making new. Let me speak words that align with hope, not with despair. Let me take actions that protect and encourage growth, rather than stifle it. Let me wake each morning believing that you are at work in ways I cannot yet see, trusting that one day I will look back and recognize the full beauty of what you were building all along. Father, as I reflect on the new work you are planting within me, I realize that for it to grow strong and healthy, I must tend to the soil of my heart each day. The seeds you have sown will not thrive in an environment where bitterness lingers or resentment takes root. I understand now that forgiveness is not a one-time event, but daily choice, sometimes a choice I must make many times in a single day. The grace you offer me so freely is the same grace you ask me to extend to others. And I see how essential it is for the life you are cultivating in me. I think of how easily my mind can drift back to old offenses, replaying words that cut deep or moments that left scars. Those memories can feel so vivid, as if they just happened. Yet, each time I allow them to dominate my thoughts, I am feeding weeds instead of nurturing the tender shoots of peace you have given me. Father, help me to be vigilant in pulling out those weeds before they choke out what you are growing. Give me the wisdom to recognize when my heart is beginning to harden and the humility to bring it back to you for softening. I know that forgiveness does not mean ignoring what was wrong or pretending it never hurt. Instead, it means choosing not to let the wrong control my present or dictate my future. It means releasing my right to hold a debt over someone's head and trusting that you, the just judge, see every detail and will deal with each matter in perfect wisdom. This release is not weakness, it is strength, because it frees me to walk forward without chains. Father, I want forgiveness to be the default posture of my heart. Let it become so deeply woven into my thinking that my first instinct is to release rather than to retaliate. Teach me to be quick to pray for those who hurt me, even when my emotions resist. Remind me that prayer softens what anger hardens, and that blessing those who oppose me is not about approving of their actions, but about refusing to let hatred dictate my spirit. There are days when forgiving feels impossible, when the wound is still fresh and the ache is raw. On those days, remind me that I am not called to muster this strength on my own. Your spirit within me is the source of the patience, compassion, and courage I need. When I say, I can tea, let me also remember to say, but you can through me. Let forgiveness flow not from my limited capacity, but from the endless river of mercy you have shown me. And Father, help me to extend this same daily practice to myself. Too often, I am harder on myself than I am on others, holding on to shame or regret long after you have forgiven me. Teach me to let go of my self-condemnation, to accept your grace without suspicion, and to see myself through the lens of your love. When I stumble, let my first step be running toward you, not away from you. Let me learn from my mistakes without chaining myself to them. As I live out this rhythm of daily forgiveness, I can feel the weight lifting. It is like a steady clearing of the air, the way a soft breeze pushes away the heavy fog at dawn. Each act of release makes space for peace to settle deeper within me. I find myself breathing easier, walking lighter, and looking forward rather than backward. And as I do, I sense that this is the atmosphere in which the new life you have promised will flourish. Father, may forgiveness be the song my soul sings quietly throughout the day, a song that shapes my tone with others, softens my responses, and keeps my spirit aligned with yours. Let it be an unending practice that guards my joy, protects my peace, and keeps me free to follow where you lead. And in this daily choice to forgive, let me be a reflection of the love that first forgave me. long before I even knew how much I needed it. Father, as the quiet work of forgiveness begins to settle deeper into my spirit, I find myself sensing the steady foundation you are laying beneath my feet. It is as though the ground that once felt uneven, shifting with every circumstance, is becoming solid and sure. I see now that peace is not something that comes only when everything around me is calm. It is the posture of a heart anchored in you. The storms may still rage, but when my roots sink deep into your presence, I am not moved. There is a temptation to believe that peace will arrive when every problem is solved, when every uncertainty is resolved, when every wound is fully healed. But the truth you are teaching me is that peace does not wait for perfection in my surroundings. It is born in the trust I place in you while the winds still blow. Father, I want to walk through this day and every day with a peace so unshakable that it confuses worry, disarms fear, and speaks louder than any chaos. You have shown me that peace is not passive, it is active. It is a decision I make when I choose not to dwell on anxious thoughts. It is a choice to set my mind on things that are true, noble, pure, and worthy of praise. It is the deliberate act of turning my focus away from the storm and toward the one who commands the waves. Father, keep my gaze fixed on you so that my heart remains still even when the world around me is restless. I know that my own strength cannot maintain this kind of peace. Left to myself, I would be pulled into the current of my emotions, tossed between the highs and lows of each moment. But with you, there is a deep current of stillness flowing beneath the surface, a quiet assurance that you are not only with me, but ahead of me, preparing the path I will walk. Even when I do not know the details of what is coming, I can trust that nothing will meet me there without first passing through your hands. Father, let this peace influence every word I speak and every action I take today. When conversations become tense, let my tone be steady and kind. When plans change unexpectedly, let my response be patient rather than panicked. When I am confronted with a challenge, let me face it with a calm spirit, knowing that agitation only clouds wisdom, but peace leaves room for clarity. Help me to protect this peace from the subtle intrusions that try to steal it. I know how easily small irritations can grow into frustration, how a single careless word can echo louder than it should. Teach me to recognize those moments early and to breathe in the quiet strength you provide before I react. Remind me that my peace is too precious to surrender to fleeting offenses. And Father, I ask that this peace would not be for me alone. Let it flow outward so that others can feel it when they are near me, like a steady warmth on a cold day. Let my presence be a place where worry feels out of place and hope feels natural. Let my life speak silently of the confidence that comes from knowing I am held in the hands of the one who cannot fail. This unshakable peace is not just for the easy mornings, the sunny afternoons, or the quiet evenings. It is for the crowded rooms, the unexpected calls, the long waits, and the difficult goodbyes. It is for every moment in which I must choose between letting the noise take over or letting your voice lead me through it. And I know, Father, that each time I choose you, the roots of this peace grow deeper, anchoring me more securely for whatever lies ahead. So as I step into this day, I will carry this peace like a steady light, not hidden but shining quietly, reminding me with every breath that no matter what rises against me, I am not alone. I am not without hope, and I am never beyond the reach of your calm. Steady presence. Father, as I hold on to the peace you have given me, I realize that peace alone is not the end. It is also the foundation for the strength I will need to persevere in every season. For what use is peace if I do not have the endurance to carry it through the valleys as well as the mountaintops? It feels as though you are weaving these gifts together, teaching me that calmness of heart and steadfast strength are inseparable when walking the path you have set before me. I think of how life unfolds in cycles, moments of abundance and moments of scarcity, days when energy overflows and days when even the simplest task feels heavy. And in every one of those moments, you are there. My prayer now is not for an easy road, but for the courage and resilience to remain faithful on the hard ones. Father, help me to keep moving forward, not because the journey is without challenge, but because your presence gives me the resolve to take one more step, and then another, even when I feel I have reached my limit. There are days when perseverance looks like pushing through the obvious obstacles, tight deadlines, unexpected problems, or the weight of responsibility. But there are also days when perseverance is quieter, almost invisible to the outside world, getting out of bed when my soul feels tired, showing kindness when I feel overlooked, continuing to pray when the answers seem slow in coming. Father, teach me that both forms of perseverance matter to you, and that no act of staying the course is too small to count as victory. I know there will be moments when doubt tries to erode my will to keep going. The voice that says, "It is too much," or "You are not strong enough," will whisper in the shadows. But in those moments, remind me of the truth that I am not walking this path in my own strength. My endurance is not fueled by stubbornness alone, but by the sustaining power of the one who never grows weary. Father, you are my source when my resources are depleted, my fuel when my energy runs dry, and my hope when I am tempted to give in to despair. Help me to see perseverance not as a grim obligation, but as an act of trust. When I keep going, I am declaring with my life that I believe you are faithful to bring me through. I am telling the world and my own heart that your promises are worth holding on to, even when I cannot yet see the fulfillment. And I am learning that perseverance shapes me, stretching my faith and refining my character in ways comfort never could. Let this strength not only carry me through personal trials, but also empower me to stand for others when they are too wary to stand for themselves. Father, give me the discernment to know when to offer a word of encouragement, when to step in with practical help, and when to simply be present, holding space for someone else's struggle. Make me a steady presence for those around me, not because I am unshaken by life's difficulties, but because I have learned where to anchor my hope. I also pray for the humility to accept help when I am the one who is tired. Perseverance does not mean I must do everything alone. It means I must keep moving forward, sometimes leaning on the hands you send to support me. Teach me to recognize that receiving help is not a sign of weakness, a part of the way you sustain me through community. And when I look back at the road I have traveled, I want to see not just moments of triumph, but the quiet, ordinary faithfulness that carried me through. The days I showed up even when I felt invisible. The moments I chose patience over frustration. The hours I spent sowing seeds without yet seeing the harvest. These are the victories that perseverance wins, not loud or showy, but lasting and deeply rooted. Father, as this day unfolds, I will hold on to both the peace you have given me and the strength you are building in me. I will remember that perseverance is not only about enduring hardship, it is about walking forward with a steady heart, trusting that every step taken in faith draws me closer to the fullness of what you have prepared. And when the night comes and I lay down to rest, I want to be able to say, I did not give in to weariness, that I carried your light with me through every hour, and that I trusted you enough to keep going when giving up would have been easier. Father, as I carry the strength to persevere from the moments before, I feel my heart drawn into a place of gratitude, a deep, steady awareness of the blessings woven into both the simple and complex moments of my life. It is as though the endurance you have planted in me becomes richer, warmer, and more life-giving when it is accompanied by thankfulness. Perseverance keeps me moving forward, but gratitude opens my eyes to see beauty even along the hardest roads. I find myself reflecting on how often I have walked past treasures because my focus was fixed only on the next challenge or the next task. Father, slow me down enough to notice what is already here. The light spilling through the window in the quiet of morning. The sound of a friend's voice that carries both history and comfort. The unexpected kindness from a stranger. These are not small things. They are reminders that your goodness is alive and active, even when the day feels ordinary. Gratitude, I realize, is more than a feeling, it is a choice. It is a lens through which the day changes shape, where even the smallest provision becomes a sign of your faithfulness. Father, I want to live with that lens in place, to wake each morning asking, what can I thank you for today? Rather than what do I lack? I know the latter leads only to restlessness, but the former fills the heart with peace and the mind with clarity. I think of times in my past when life felt overwhelming, and yet, when I looked closely, there was always something to be grateful for. Sometimes it was as simple as the breath in my lungs or the steady rhythm of my heart. Other times it was the comfort of knowing that no matter how many things I could not control, you remained unshaken. Father, remind me that gratitude does not wait for perfect circumstances. It grows best in imperfect ones, where faith teaches the soul to notice blessings hidden beneath the noise. Let this gratitude spill over into my actions, not just my thoughts. May it shape the way I speak to others, so my words build rather than tear down. May it shape the way I carry myself, so I walk with quiet confidence that comes from knowing I am cared for. May it shape the way I respond to challenges, so I meet them not with fear, but with the awareness that I have already been given more than enough to face them. Father, I also pray for the courage to express this gratitude openly. Too often, I keep thankfulness silent, assuming it is understood. But I know that gratitude unspoken can wither in the shadows, while gratitude shared can multiply joy. Help me to look someone in the eyes today and tell them how they have been a blessing to me. Help me to write the note, make the call, or offer the word that might brighten their path. And even when my heart feels heavy or tired, let gratitude be the steady flame that will not go out. It may flicker, but it will still cast light. Because gratitude, once it takes root, does not depend on mood or moment. It draws its strength from remembering who you are. Father, your love is the constant thread that runs through every season of my life. Even when I have been slow to notice, you have never stopped pouring out goodness, mercy, and provision. I want this gratitude to be contagious, to ripple outward from my life into the lives of others. Let it remind those around me that they, too, are surrounded by blessings worth noticing. And when I forget, let their gratitude call mine back to life. This is how I believe you designed us, to remind one another, to lift each other's eyes when the weight of the world bends our gaze toward the ground. Father, as this day unfolds, I will look for the details that reveal your hand. I will give thanks for what is here rather than dwell on what is missing. And when night falls and the day has given all it could, I want my heart to be full, not because everything went as planned, but because I walked through it aware of your presence in every breath, every step, and every moment in between. Father, as gratitude settles deeply within me, it feels natural for it to reach outward, shaping the way I see and respond to those around me. Thankfulness for your goodness makes me more aware of the needs, struggles, and hidden burdens carried by others. I cannot hold such awareness and remain unmoved. Your love calls me into compassion, the kind that does not pause at sympathy but moves into action. Compassion, I have learned, is not simply feeling sorry for someone. It is stepping into their world long enough to understand their pain and, where possible, to ease it. It means slowing my own pace to match theirs, even if it takes me off my planned path for the day. It means listening without rushing to fix, holding space for tears without demanding explanations, and choosing gentleness when judgment would be easier. Father, open my eyes today to the opportunities you place before me to show this kind of compassion. Let me not dismiss small needs because they seem insignificant, for often it is the smallest act of kindness that becomes the most deeply felt. A patient word to someone under pressure, a warm meal for a weary soul, a hand extended in welcome to one who feels out of place. These can be seeds of hope you plant through my willingness to act. I think of how often you have met me in my weakest moments, not with condemnation but with understanding. You never hurried me to heal faster or demanded that I hide my wounds before coming to you. Instead, you wrapped me in grace, allowing me to breathe and find strength again. Father, teach me to offer others the same patient mercy. Let me be slow to take offense, quick to forgive, and ready to restore what has been broken when it is in my power to do so. Compassion is not always convenient. Sometimes it interrupts schedules, drains energy, and asks for more than I feel ready to give. Yet I know that when I step into someone's pain with a willing heart, I am stepping into holy ground. It is there that your spirit moves most powerfully through quiet acts that may never be noticed by the world, but are seen and treasured by you. Father, help me to remember that compassion is not about fixing every problem, but about walking alongside others so they do not feel alone. It is about showing that their worth is not measured by their successes or failures, but by the unshakable truth that they are loved by you. Give me words that carry healing, not harm, and actions that lift rather than weigh down. When my own heart feels tired, remind me that compassion is not drawn from my limited supply. From the endless well of your love, I do not need to fear running out when I am drawing from you, even in moments when I feel empty. You can fill me with enough to pour into someone else. This is a mystery I cannot fully explain, but have seen time and again when I give from the little I have. You multiply it. Let this compassion also extend to those who are difficult to love. It is easy to show kindness to those who are grateful, gentle, and kind in return, but it is in loving those who resist, who push away, or who wound in their own pain, that my heart truly reflects yours. Father, remind me that every person I meet carries a story I do not fully know. And often, their harshness hides a deep hurt. Help me to look past the surface and see the soul in need of mercy. As I step into this day, let my gratitude transform into tangible acts of care. Let my hands be ready to serve, my ears be quick to hear, my voice be gentle in correction, and my presence be a safe place for others to rest. May the compassion you stir within me today not fade when the moment passes, but remain as a constant posture of my life. And when night comes, I want to be able to look back and see not only the blessings I received, but the blessings I was able to give. For I know that in giving compassion, I am not losing anything. I am becoming more of who you created me to be. Father, as compassion flows outward from a grateful heart, I realize there will be days when extending that love will not be easy. Some days will bring not open doors, but closed hearts, not gentle responses, but sharp resistance. There will be times when the weight of trials presses so heavily that my own spirit feels too weary to take another step. In those moments, Father, I need more than good intentions. I need the strength that only you can provide. Strength to stand is not the same as stubbornness. It is not about clinging to my own way, but holding firmly to what is true when the winds of doubt and fear try to sway me. It is the quiet resolve that grows from knowing you are near, that you will never abandon me, even if the path is dark and the outcome uncertain. This kind of strength is not born from comfort. It is forged in the fire of testing. Father, you know every storm I have faced and every one yet to come. You have seen the days when my knees trembled and my voice shook, when I wanted to turn back because the climb felt too steep, yet each time, you met me there not always by removing the mountain, but by giving me the courage to keep moving toward the summit. Teach me again today that the strength to stand does not come from never feeling fear, but from trusting you more than I fear what is ahead. When testing comes, it often arrives without warning. A sudden loss, a sharp word, an unexpected change. These can shake the ground beneath me. But even when the earth shifts, you remain unshaken. Help me to anchor my soul in that truth. Let my roots go deep into the soil of your promises, so that no matter how fierce the wind, I will not be uprooted. Sometimes strength means speaking truth when it would be easier to stay silent. Other times it means staying silent when anger tempts me to lash out. It may look like standing alone when others walk away, or waiting patiently when my heart aches for resolution. In every form, Father, let my strength be shaped by your wisdom, not by my pride. And when my own strength falters, remind me that I am not called to stand in my power alone. You place people around me who can pray with me. Encourage me and help me carry the weight when it feels too much. Give me the humility to lean on them, just as I lean on you. For true strength is not isolation, it is connection rooted in faith. Father, let me remember that the testing of my faith is not meant to destroy me, but to refine me. Just as fire purifies gold, so trials purify my heart, burning away the things that weaken my trust in you. Each test is an invitation to grow, to learn, and to see your faithfulness in ways I could not have known otherwise. When I feel the pressure rising, help me to breathe deeply in your presence, knowing that I am not defined by this moment, but by the one who holds it. Let my steps remain steady, my gaze fixed on you, and my heart open to the lessons hidden in the struggle. And when the day comes that I look back on what once seemed impossible, let me see not my own resilience, but your strength carrying me through. Let my testimony be this, that I stood not because I was unshaken, but because I was upheld by the hands of the one who never lets go. Father, as I think of the strength you give to stand in the day of testing, I realize there is another treasure I must protect with equal care, the peace you place within my heart. This world rarely knows rest. It moves fast, demands much, and often shouts louder than the still, small voice that calls me back to you. Yet, Father, you have promised a peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away, unless I allow it to be stolen. Your peace is not fragile, but it can be neglected. It does not vanish because circumstances grow difficult, but it can be crowded out when I let worry, fear, or anger fill the space where it should reign. Guarding this peace requires intention, choosing, again and again, to anchor my thoughts in truth rather than in the noise that surrounds me. Father, teach me to notice quickly when unrest begins to stir. Sometimes it is obvious, like the sharp tension of conflict or the weight of a sudden burden. Other times it slips in quietly, a subtle unease, a restless mind replaying what-ifs and maybes. When that happens, let me pause, take a breath, and invite you into that very moment. For peace is not found by escaping the noise, but by meeting you in the middle of it. There are so many voices in the world that seek to disrupt the calm. You give opinions that clash, fears that spread, endless demands that pull in every direction. Yet you remind me that I do not have to absorb it all. I can choose what I dwell on. I can choose to fill my mind with your words instead of the constant stream of anxiety. Help me to be wise in what I allow to enter my heart, for whatever I feed will grow. Father, make me mindful that peace is often protected in small, daily choices, choosing kindness over retaliation, choosing gratitude over complaint, choosing to let go instead of holding tightly to offenses, choosing to trust your timing instead of forcing my own. These decisions may seem small, but together they build a wall around the quiet center of my soul, where your presence rests. When the world presses for urgency, help me to resist the lie that I must rush through every moment. Slow me down enough to hear you, enough to notice the blessings hidden in plain sight. Remind me that peace is not found in having nothing to do, but in knowing that whatever I do it with you. Father, there will be days when the unrest is not just outside of me, but within me, days when my own heart becomes a battlefield of competing desires, unspoken fears, and unhealed wounds. On those days, let me not run from you in shame, but toward you in honesty. For you are the only one who can quiet the storms inside as easily as the storms outside. Let my life reflect the peace I carry. When others encounter me, may they sense not an absence of trouble, but a presence greater than trouble. Let my words be gentle, my tone steady, my responses thoughtful, so that in a restless world, my life whispers of a deeper calm. And when I fail, when I let the noise in and feel my peace slipping, let me return quickly. Your grace does not scold me for losing it. Instead, it restores what I have let go of. Remind me that peace is not a one-time gift to be guarded perfectly, but a daily inheritance I can reclaim again and again. Father, in a world that thrives on chaos, make me a keeper of calm, not because I have mastered control, but because I have surrendered control to you. Let my heart be a quiet place where your spirit finds a home, and from that place, let peace flow outward to every corner of my life. Father, as I think about the peace you teach me to guard, I realize how deeply it is linked to a heart of gratitude. It is almost impossible for worry and thankfulness to occupy the same space. When my heart is filled with the awareness of your goodness, even in small and simple things, the shadows of fear begin to fade. Gratitude turns my focus from what I lack to what I have already been given, from the unknown that lies ahead to the blessings already in my hands. I know, Father, that gratitude is more than polite words or a fleeting, warm feeling. It is a posture of the heart, a deliberate way of seeing. It looks at the day not as a random string of events, but as a carefully woven tapestry in which even the smallest thread has purpose. It sees not only the extraordinary blessings, but also the ordinary moments that, when noticed, shine with quiet beauty, a shared smile. The sound of morning birds, the stillness just before the sun fully rises. Father, I confess that there are days when my heart is slow to give thanks, when my eyes are quick to notice what is missing rather than what is present. On those days, teach me to pause and remember that every breath is a gift, every sunrise is an invitation, every challenge is an opportunity to see your faithfulness in action. Gratitude is not the denial of hardship, but the recognition that even in hardship, you remain the giver of all good things. Help me to cultivate gratitude in a way that is not dependent on perfect circumstances. Let it grow deep roots so that when the winds of trouble blow, it does not wither. I want my thankfulness to reach beyond convenience and comfort, into the places where trust is tested. Let me be thankful not only when prayers are answered in the way I hoped, but also when the answer comes differently, trusting that your wisdom is greater than my desire. Father, make me someone who gives thanks openly, not just in the quietness of my own heart. Let my words carry the fragrance of gratitude so that others are reminded of how much there is to cherish when I speak of the blessings in my life. Let it be without pride, but with humility, acknowledging that every good thing comes from you, not from my own strength or merit. In moments of difficulty, remind me to give thanks for what is unseen, the character being shaped, the patience being refined, the faith being strengthened. These are treasures I would not have chosen for myself, but they are gifts nonetheless. Gratitude helps me recognize that even what feels like loss can become the soil where something beautiful will grow. Father, I want to live in a way that gratitude is not something I visit, but somewhere I dwell. Let it be the lens through which I see the world, and the language my soul naturally speaks, even in silence. Let my heart be quietly naming the things I am thankful for: the kindness of a stranger, the laughter of a loved one, the unexpected provision that arrives at the perfect time. As I move through this day, let gratitude guide my steps. When I face a decision, may I remember the times you have led me faithfully before. When I am tempted to complain, may I recall the countless moments when you provided exactly what was needed. When I feel impatient, may I remember that waiting has often brought blessings I could not have foreseen. Father, I see now that gratitude does not only change my heart, it changes the atmosphere around me. It softens conversations, calms conflicts, and brings light into heavy spaces. It shifts my focus from what divides to what unites, from scarcity to abundance, from fear to trust. When I choose to be thankful, I create room for joy to take root and grow. Let me end this morning not with a list of requests, but with open hands lifted in thanks for the countless ways you have already shown your love. And as the hours ahead unfold, let this thankfulness be the steady rhythm that carries me forward, so that every step I take today is lit by the quiet, unshakable glow of a grateful heart. Father, as gratitude continues to shape the way I see this day, I realize that thankfulness naturally overflows into love. When my heart is aware of the abundance I have received from you, it becomes harder to withhold kindness from others. Gratitude softens my spirit, making it easier to forgive, to extend patience, and to see beyond the surface of another person's actions or words. It becomes a bridge that connects my heart to theirs, even when differences or misunderstandings stand in the way. Father, you know how love can be the simplest command, and yet the greatest challenge. There are moments when it flows naturally, when those around me are kind, when my own heart feels full, when the atmosphere is warm and welcoming. But there are also moments when love feels like an act of will, when it requires stepping past hurt, frustration, or fear. In those moments, I ask you to remind me that love is not dependent on my mood or comfort, but rooted in the unchanging truth of who you are. Teach me to love with consistency, not just when it is easy or convenient. Let my care for others not be determined by how they treat me, but by the fact that they are yours, created in your image, worthy of dignity and compassion. Give me the strength to love the person who interrupts my plans, the one who misunderstands my intentions, the one whose story I do not yet know. Father, I see that real love is not passive. It acts. It moves. It speaks. It listens. It shows up in small and often unnoticed ways, in the patience to hear someone out without rushing them, in the courage to speak truth gently when silence would be easier, in the willingness to carry part of someone's burden when they are weary. Love often costs something, but what it gives back is greater still. The deep satisfaction of knowing I have reflected even a small part of your heart. When love feels impossible, remind me of the way you have loved me fully, without condition, without keeping a record of wrongs. Your love has met me in my best moments and my worst, never withdrawing even when I have been stubborn or blind. If you can extend such grace to me, surely I can lean on your Spirit to extend a fraction of that grace to others. Father, help me to love in ways that are not always visible. Let it be present in my thoughts as much as in my actions. Guard me from dwelling on resentment, from replaying offenses, from labeling others in ways that box them into my limited understanding. Teach me to think of people in the light of their potential, not only their past. Show me how to love across seasons, the joyful ones, where love is shared in celebration, the difficult ones where it must be carried like a lantern through the dark. In seasons of loss, may my love be a quiet comfort. In seasons of abundance, may it be a generous overflow. When life feels fast and rushed, may my love be an unhurried presence. When it slows into stillness, may my love be steady and warm. Father, I do not want my love to be selective, given only to those who fit neatly into my circle. Teach me to notice the ones who are overlooked, the quiet soul standing at the edge of the room, the weary worker who goes unseen, the stranger whose eyes reveal a story no one has stopped to hear. Sometimes love is not a grand gesture, but a simple acknowledgement that says, "You matter." And let me not forget to love those closest to me. Familiarity can sometimes dull gratitude, making it easier to take their presence for granted. Today, I choose to see them with fresh eyes, to speak words of encouragement, to listen without distraction, to notice the ways they enrich my life. As I step forward into the rest of this day, let love be the language I speak fluently, not through rehearsed phrases, but through genuine care. Let it be the reason I slow down when someone needs my attention, the reason I take a deep breath instead of reacting sharply, the reason I choose to hope the best instead of assuming the worst. Let my love be a reflection of yours, patient, kind, steadfast, and real, so that in every season, whether in sunlight or in shadow, my life quietly tells the story of a heart transformed by you. Father, as love continues to shape my steps from the place we left off, I see how deeply it is tied to patience. Without patience, love becomes fragile, quick to fade when it is tested, hesitant to endure when faced with inconvenience or misunderstanding. Patience, I realize, is the steady heartbeat that allows love to breathe through both calm and storm. It is not a passive waiting, but an active trust, a quiet strength that holds steady when everything else seems to shift. Teach me, Father, to practice a patience that does not depend on my circumstances being favorable. Let it be more than a temporary effort that I wear for a moment and discard when my mood changes. I want it to be deeply woven into my character, so that in every delay, every pause, every stretch of uncertainty, I am able to remain at peace without resentment growing in my heart. You know, Father, how easily impatience can creep to my thoughts when plans are disrupted, when answers do not arrive as quickly as I wish, when people around me move at a pace that feels slower than my own. In those moments, remind me that time is not mine to control, and that rushing rarely brings the outcome my soul truly longs for. Help me to see the hidden beauty in waiting, for it is often in the stillness that you do your deepest work in me. Patience is more than simply enduring delays. It is how I choose to carry myself while waiting. Let my words remain gentle, my thoughts free from irritation, my actions a reflection of trust rather than frustration. Show me how patience can become a gift to those around me, easing tension, creating space for understanding, and offering others the freedom to grow at their own pace. Father, teach me to be patient with myself as well. I often hold myself to a standard that is impossible to meet instantly, expecting immediate progress or flawless consistency. But growth, like the turning of seasons, requires time. Help me to celebrate small steps forward, to learn from setbacks without drowning in discouragement, and to extend to myself the same grace I long to give others. Let patience flow into my relationships, so that I do not demand perfection or instant change from those I care about. People's hearts are delicate, and their journeys are uniquely their own. Sometimes the most loving thing I can do is to simply stand beside them as they take the time they need to heal, to understand, or to decide their next step. Give me the wisdom to know when to speak and when to simply remain present. When the day feels rushed and the list of tasks grows long, help me to remember that hurrying is not the same as living. Slow me down enough to notice the sound of someone slatter, the weight of a thoughtful word, or the quiet beauty of a moment I might otherwise miss. Let patience be the rhythm that keeps me from running ahead of the very blessings you have placed in my path. Father, patience is often tested not in grand, dramatic moments, but in the small, unnoticed spaces of daily life, the line that moves slowly, the conversation that takes longer than planned, the delay that changes the flow of my day. In these seemingly ordinary moments, shape my heart to respond with calm instead of irritation. Show me that every pause has the potential to hold something sacred if I choose to see it. And when the waiting stretches longer than I expected, when prayers linger without visible answers, when change unfolds at a pace I cannot control, anchor me in the truth that your timing is never late and never early. You see beyond my limited view, and what I call delay may in fact be preparation. Teach me to lean into that mystery with trust, knowing that patience is not wasted time, but time being refined for a greater purpose. So as I move through this day, let patience and love walk together in my steps. May my presence bring a sense of calm to those who feel rushed, hope to those who feel delayed, and grace to those who are still finding their way. Let me live in such a way that patience is not only something I practice, but something others can feel simply by being near me, a quiet assurance that there is no need to rush what you are shaping in its perfect time. Father, as patience continues to teach me how to breathe in the waiting, I find myself realizing that it often walks hand in hand with strength. Not the loud kind of strength that forces its way forward, but the quiet resilience that remains steady even when the weight is heavy and the road is long. From where I stood in the last chapter, learning to wait with grace, I now see that waiting often requires a heart that is anchored and a will that does not easily bend under pressure. I come to you, Father, aware that my own strength runs out far sooner than I would like to admit. There are days when my spirit feels worn thin, when patience turns into exhaustion, and I begin to wonder if I have anything left to give. But I have seen how you meet the weary with renewal, how you breathe courage into trembling souls, and how you lift burdens that we were never meant to carry alone. Today, I ask that you would fill me again, not with the frantic energy of trying to do it all myself, but with the steady power that comes from walking in step with you. Teach me that true strength is not about proving I can handle everything on my own. It is about knowing where to lean when the weight is too much. It is about admitting my need for help without shame, about letting you be the source that never runs dry. Father, when my hands grow tired, place yours over mine. When my steps begin to falter, steady me. When my mind begins to doubt, remind me of the countless times you have brought me through what once felt impossible. Let my strength be rooted in peace, not in striving. I do not want to move through this day powered by anxiety or the fear of falling behind. I want to walk forward knowing that even if the pace is slow, each step taken with you carries purpose. Help me to remember that it is better to move slowly in the right direction than to run fast toward emptiness. Father, there will be moments today when the needs around me feel endless, when people's expectations seem larger than my capacity to meet them. In those moments, remind me that my worth is not measured by how much I can do, but by how much I remain faithful to what you have placed before me. Give me discernment to know which battles are mine to fight and which ones are yours to carry. Grant me the strength to be consistent in love even when I feel drained. It is easy to be kind when my energy is full, but it is in the moment's fatigue that my heart is truly tested. Let my words remain gentle, my actions thoughtful, and my presence steady even when the day feels long. I ask also for strength of mind, the clarity to focus on what matters most, the discipline to resist distractions, and the courage to stand by my values when they are challenged. Guard my thoughts so that they are not consumed by worry or fear, but instead are guided by the hope that you continually place before me. When I face resistance, whether in the form of setbacks, criticism, or unexpected detours, let me see them not as signs to give up, but as opportunities to grow deeper roots. Remind me that even trees standing against the wind grow stronger in their core. Help me to face challenges with a calm spirit, knowing that I do not face them alone. And when the night comes and I look back on this day, let me see the quiet victories, the moments I chose to hold my tongue when frustration tempted me to speak harshly, the times I showed up even when I wanted to retreat, the places where I kept going not because it was easy, but because it was right. Let me rest knowing that strength was not about being unshaken, but about being willing to stand again each time I felt weak. Father, let my life be a reflection of this truth, that strength is not found in the absence of weakness, but in the willingness to lean on you in the midst of it. As I step forward into what lies ahead, let my hands be ready, my heart steady, and my spirit unafraid, for I know that you are the one who sustains me from sunrise to nightfall and beyond. Father, as I pause in this moment, my thoughts drift naturally from where we left them in the last chapter. It is as though the thread of our conversation has simply shifted from one room to the next, still warm with the presence of your voice. The light we have been walking in together does not fade when the page turns. It simply expands, reaching into places I did not expect, carrying with it the same quiet assurance that has guided every step. The day ahead feels full of tasks, full of people, full of moments where my patience will be tested and my focus stretched thin. Yet in this fullness, I ask you to keep me anchored in the deep calm we have built here. Let no wave of urgency pull me away from the peace you have planted within. Let no sudden noise drown out the steady rhythm of trust that beats quietly in my chest. I want to move through this day as if my heart is still leaning against yours, aware that your nearness is not dependent on the softness of the morning, but remains constant even in the busiest hours. Father, strengthen my resolve to choose kindness even when irritation knocks at the door. Teach me to listen longer before I respond, to let compassion have the last word, and to resist the temptation to measure others by my own standards. May I carry myself in a way that reflects the patience you show me daily, remembering that every person I meet is in the middle of a story I do not fully know. There will be moments when shadows will pass over the brightness of my day, an unexpected setback, a harsh word, or a disappointment I did not see coming. When those moments arrive, remind me to pause before reacting. Let my first instinct be to breathe in the truth that you are still here, unshaken by what has just unsettled me. Replace my need to control with a readiness to trust, for I know that even the hardest interruptions can carry seeds of growth if I will let them be touched by your hands. Father, I also ask for discernment. Help me to know when to speak and when silence will serve better, when to stand firm and when to step aside, when to offer my help and when to allow someone the dignity of finding their own way. This balance is not something I can master on my own. It is something you must teach me, moment by moment, as I lean into the wisdom you provide. And in the midst of all these moving parts, keep my gratitude alive. Do not let the small wonders slip past unnoticed, a kind smile from a stranger, the scent of fresh rain on the pavement, the way sunlight falls across a desk at just the right angle. These are your reminders, scattered like gentle notes along the way, that life is more than the sum of its demands. As I carry this awareness forward, I hold close the truth that this day is not mine to control, but mine to steward. You have entrusted me with time, with people, with opportunities to shape the world around me in quiet ways. May I not waste it in frustration or fear. May I invest it in love, in patience, in faithfulness to the calling you have placed before me. And so, with my hands open and my heart steady, I step into the hours ahead. The thread of this prayer remains unbroken, waving through each conversation, each decision, each quiet moment I will meet before the sun lowers again. Even as the pace quickens, my soul will move at the speed of your peace, for I know you are here in every detail, in every breath, in every step I take. Father, as the minutes of this day begin to unfold further, I sense the quiet truth that walking with you is not about chasing perfection, but about staying in connection. The world often measures strength by how much we can carry without showing strain. Yet I have learned that true strength comes from knowing when to lean into your presence. Let this be the rhythm of my day: leaning, listening, learning rather than rushing, reacting, and regretting when the demands of work, family, or unexpected obligations threaten to tangle my thoughts into knots. Teach me to untee them one strand at a time in your light. Let me resist the urge to solve everything at once, for that only tightens the rope of anxiety around my heart. Instead, remind me that there is a divine order to all things, that each problem can be addressed with the steady hands of faith, rather than the hurried grip of fear. I ask you, Father, to guard my speech as carefully as you guard my steps. Words, once spoken, cannot be gathered back, and I do not want to leave trails of harm where I could have left paths of healing. May my voice be a soft place for the wary to land, not a stone thrown into their already troubled waters. Even when correction is needed, let my tone be wrapped in respect, so that truth does not lose its shape in the shadow of harshness. Keep my heart sensitive to the unspoken needs around me. Often, the deepest cries for help are wrapped in silence, and it takes a listening spirit to hear them. Give me the ability to notice when someone's smile does not quite reach their eyes, or when their usual words seem heavy in the air. Let me offer a presence that is steady and safe, the way you offer yourself to me without pressure, without pretense. Simply there. And when I face my own moments of weakness today, those times when I am tempted to retreat into self-pity or frustration, draw me out into the open spaces of your truth. Remind me that my worth is not decided by productivity, nor is my joy dependent on flawless circumstances. You are the anchor beneath my surface, holding me steady when emotions shift like unpredictable tides. Father, help me to honor the small pauses in this day, for they are the spaces where I can hear you most clearly. A short walk between meetings, a deep breath before answering the phone, a glance out the window at a stretch of sky. These are more than empty seconds. They are invitations from you to remember that I am more than my schedule, more than my to-do list. In these pauses, I can realign my heart with yours if conflict arises. Let me be the one who brings the temperature down rather than raising it. Let me choose responses that de-escalate rather than fuel the flames, remembering that peace is not weakness, but a powerful force that often speaks more loudly than anger. I want to reflect the kind of love that listens first and judges last, that gives room for understanding to grow. Father, Keep my eyes lifted so I do not miss the beauty woven into the ordinary. The way light filters through leaves. The sound of laughter in another room. The quiet moments when the air feels almost sacred. These are whispers of eternity placed within the temporary. Let them be reminders that even the smallest moments can carry eternal weight when they are infused with your presence. And as I move forward, I hold on to the truth that the purpose of this day is not simply to reach its end, but to walk through it awake to the people I meet, the choices I make, and the faith that shapes each step. I do not know all that will happen before the sun sets, but I do know that I will not face it alone. Your presence is the constant thread, waving its way through the hours, binding them together with grace. May this awareness not fade when the demands increase, but instead deepen, becoming a quiet stream beneath all the noise, a stream that nourishes, refreshes, and reminds me that everything I do in your sight. And in that sight, I am never invisible, never without help, never without hope. Father, when I think about how many unseen moments pass in the span of a single day, I realize how easily life can slip into a blur if I do not remain attentive. So often, the heartache or joy of another person is hidden in plain sight, masked by routine. Give me eyes to notice these subtleties, to respond before the opportunity is gone. Help me to remember that interruptions are not always disruptions. They can be divine appointments in disguise. When someone crosses my path unexpectedly, instead of thinking only of the time they take, help me consider the gift they might be bringing or the need they might carry. Keep my heart open enough to adjust, to bend, to welcome what I did not plan, for if it is part what you are doing. Father, teach me to approach my responsibilities with both diligence and gentleness. Diligence, so that I give my best in the work entrusted to me. And gentleness, so that I do not crush my spirit or the spirit of others under the weight of unrealistic demands. Let me remember that work done without love becomes hollow, but work done with love, even in small things, becomes sacred. When fatigue tries to settle on me like a heavy coat, whisper to my soul that I can lay it down. Fatigue is not a badge of honor. It is often a sign that I need to return to the source of my strength. And you, Father, are that source. Even a brief moment in your presence can refresh more than hours of restless distraction. Remind me that stillness is not wasted time. It is the soil in which peace takes root. Guard me from the temptation to compare my journey to another's. Comparison is a thief, robbing gratitude of its voice and replacing it with dissatisfaction. Let me instead celebrate the victories of others as if they were my own. And knowing that in your kingdom, there is no shortage of grace or blessing. What you give is always enough for the one who trusts you. And as midday turns into afternoon, let my pace be steady, not hurried into anxiety nor slowed by discouragement. Give me a quiet resilience, a persistence that does not clench its fists in fear, but holds its hands open in faith. May my actions today echo something greater than my own ambitions, pointing back to the one who walks with me through both shadows and light. Let the close of this chapter not be an ending, but a continuation. For I know that each prayer I offer is not confined to words. It is lived out in the choices I make, the grace I extend, and the way I hold on to hope even when the road is not clear. Father, help me walk forward into the rest of this day with a heart anchored in trust, knowing that nothing is wasted when it is placed in your hands. Father, as I come into this final stretch of our morning journey together, my heart feels the quiet weight of all that has been spoken and the gentle lifting of all that has been surrendered. We have walked through moments of gratitude, requests for guidance, cries for strength, and whispers for peace. And now, standing here at this threshold, I feel the stillness that comes after a long conversation where nothing has been left unsaid. Yet everything still feels alive in the space between us. From the first moment of this morning, you have been drawing me into deeper awareness, teaching me to notice the smallest movements of grace, to listen for the quiet cues of your presence, and to rest in the truth that I am never beyond the reach of your care. I carry with me the lessons of patience and trust, of finding strength in weakness, and of letting love be the steady thread that holds the day together. These truths are not just for the soft hours of dawn, but for the heat of the day when the demands of life press in and I am tempted to forget. I ask that as this day unfolds, you keep my heart tender but unafraid. Let my compassion not be dulled by fatigue, nor my hope dimmed by discouragement. Help me to be a person whose words build instead of break, whose presence brings comfort instead of pressure. May my steps be deliberate, guided not by the urgency of the world, but by the quiet certainty that you are leading. I know there will be moments ahead when the light feels faint and the way forward unclear. In those moments, remind me of this morning of how clarity can come in small flashes, like the way sunlight filters through moving leaves, and how even a single step taken in faith can shift everything. Teach me to measure progress not in leaps, but in the quiet courage to keep going. Father, I also pray for those who will cross my path today. Let me see them as you do, not through the filter of my assumptions or their mistakes, but through the lens of grace. Give me the awareness to notice the unspoken burdens they carry, the words they do not say, and the needs they are too wary to name. Let my presence be a soft landing place for the hurting, a steady encouragement for the uncertain, and a gentle reminder for the forgotten that they are seen. Thank you for the gift of being heard, not only by you, but also by those who have walked through these chapters with me. Thank you for the hidden ways you work in the human heart, shaping, softening, and strengthening in ways we may never fully see until much later. Thank you for the quiet miracles that unfold in ordinary days, for the doors that open when we least expect them, and for the peace that meets us even in the middle of unresolved storms. To everyone who has listened to these words and traveled this path from the first chapter to this one, I am deeply grateful. You have made space in your day to meet here, to reflect, and to seek something more than the noise that surrounds us. May what we have shared linger with you not as an echo that fades, but as a steady hum beneath the surface of your days. I invite you to share your thoughts, your prayers, your own reflections below, because together our faith becomes stronger, our hope grows wider, and our love stretches farther. If this journey has met you in the place you needed it most, I encourage you to remain connected. Subscribe to this channel so that you do not miss the next time we gather like this. Share this with someone who may need to hear these words today, and continue to nurture your faith one quiet morning at a time. And now, as the morning deepens and the day calls, I feel the air shifting the coolness of early light, giving way to the warmth of the rising sun. A gentle breeze brushes against my face, carrying with it the scent of new beginnings. The first golden rays stretch across the horizon, spilling over rooftops and fields, touching everything with a glow that feels both ancient and new. Somewhere, a bird sings a single clear note, and the sound hangs in the air like a promise. The world is awake, and so am I, ready to step into what comes next. Walking forward in the light,